Welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Andrea Jackson. Ladies, they say working moms can't have a meaningful work-life balance, but one country is proving them wrong. Joining us to talk more about it is Allie Kelly. She's an economy reporter for Business Insider. Hi, Allie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So what are some of the challenges millennial parents face in balancing their careers with childcare here in the U.S.?
Yes, so Andrea, there's a couple layers that millennial parents have in challenging balancing their parenting with their careers. One of the things is that millennials are having children a little bit later than prior generations in their 30s and 40s. So they're waiting until they're more financially stable and more stable in their careers. But when they have to wait until their children are past that baby toddler stage and old enough to go to school, they have really significant childcare bills. So in some cities, we have childcare bills outpacing wages, being on par with rent and housing costs. And that balance can make it really difficult where parents, especially mothers, are having to make this choice where they want to spend time with their kids, they want to stay on on that career ladder, and also maybe can't afford to spend that much on childcare. And so they're making this choice where they want to work, but part-time work in the US is not protected in the same way that full-time work is.
Yeah,
So in a lot of cases, part-time workers are having to choose between uh, being able to spend time with their kids, save money on childcare bills, and having health insurance and an employer matched 401k.
Yeah, it's a really tricky balance. And when I talk to a lot of my friends who are parents, and they tell me it could cost $1,200 a month. And that's being conservative when it comes to childcare. And like you had mentioned, that could be the price of rent or mortgage, you name it. In countries like the Netherlands, part-time employees receive the same benefits as full-timers. How does this approach affect their economy and, of course, their overall health when it comes to that balance?
Absolutely. So the US is kind of an anomaly in terms of peer countries for part time work protections versus full time work protections. The US is really left at the mercy of uh, people are left at the mercy of their companies. So they might have health insurance, other benefits if they're part time workers because their company offers it, but there's no federal protection in the same way that full time employees have. In the Netherlands and a lot of other European countries, part time employees are required to have those same benefits and protections that full time workers would have. And that translates in the Netherlands to having a higher workforce participation than the US has, in addition to there's a smaller gap between male workers and female workers in the part-time workforce. So one of the things that happens in the US is part-time workers are overwhelmingly women because women are often put in those roles as stay-at-home or part-time working parents, as caregivers. And so not only does this affect the labor force participation rate, but it really specifically impacts the labor force participation rate for women.
Allie, let me ask you this. Companies like Starbucks and UPS offer benefits to part-time workers. That's really an advantage that company can offer. It's a huge benefit. So what lessons can other U.S. employers learn from these models? And not every small business can afford to do that, but these businesses can. And in essence, it kind of creates this competitive marketplace because as a part-time worker, I know if I go to work for one of these companies that offers this, gives me a little bit more security. How can we maybe see this trickle down to other companies in the future?
Absolutely. So there's this idea that, increasing part-time work opportunities would make the labor force a little bit more flexible and accessible to a lot of different people, particularly caregivers and parents. One of the challenges, though, is that this is really hard to pass at the federal level in the way that a lot of other countries would have. There's a lot of political hurdles. And even though that there's a bill that's kind of stalled in the House that would add some of these protections. But one of the things, like you're saying, it is that companies can't implement these policies themselves. So Starbucks has done this, where they have a lot of uh, additional healthcare, retirement benefits, stuff like that for part-time employees. And the companies told me that they actually have seen higher retention and lower turnover rates for employees
Good
versus a
stuff.
lot of other companies.
All right, Allie, thank you so much. For more on having it all, you can head over to businessinsider.com. We'll also have a link on our website, dailyflashshow.com.